So let me get this straight. Plants don't have ears, yet they can hear and respond to sounds and vibrations. It's like those memes where they're taking notes. So let's break down what this actually means and why it matters. Welcome to my channel. First, a vocabulary check. In the plant world, hearing isn't quite the same as us humans. Since plants lack ears and sound travels as vibrations through the air, or in this case, the water around them, we call this field of study plant bioacoustics. It's the study of how plants sense and react to mechanical vibrations like sounds. But how can we know they're hearing or sensing anything? Well, not so long ago, scientists discovered that plants are able to pick up subtle differences in vibrations and adjust their behavior accordingly. And yes, this includes the ability to recognize different types of caterpillars based on their munching sounds. Here's how plants allegedly hear the sounds around them. At first glance, it might seem hard to imagine plants picking up on specific sounds when they don't have ears or a nervous system like ours. But here's the deal. Every time a sound is produced, whether it's a caterpillar munching on a leaf, a bat squeaking as it flies by, or even raindrops hitting the ground, it creates vibrations in the air, or in this case, in the water around them. Plants can sense these vibrations because their cells have special parts called mechanoreceptors. Picture these receptors as tiny sensors embedded in the cell membranes of plant cells. Their job is to detect physical forces like pressure and stretching. When a sound wave hits a plant, say a leaf, it causes the leaf to vibrate. Those vibrations are transmitted to the cell membrane, setting off those mechanoreceptor proteins. They then trigger a cascade of biochemical reactions within the cell, kickstarting a physiological response. It's sort of like feeling the bass thumping from a speaker. You don't necessarily hear the music, but you can certainly feel the vibrations deep in your chest. Similarly, these mechanoreceptors in plants are constantly sending signals to the cell's interior about the physical forces acting on the cell membrane. That information is then processed by the plant, leading to various responses. But what kind of responses are we talking about? Let's explore some of the fascinating ways plants use these abilities. First, take the example of the chewing caterpillar alarm. A few years ago, researchers in Germany made a pretty remarkable discovery. They found that the Thale cress plant, a small flowering plant called Arabidopsis thaliana, can tell the difference between the vibrations produced by chewing caterpillars and other things like wind. Here's the breakdown. The researchers gently stroked the leaves of the Thale cress plants, mimicking the vibrations made by caterpillars. And guess what? The plants responded by ramping up their production of chemical defenses like glucosinolates, which are toxic compounds that make the leaves less tasty for the caterpillars. However, when the plants were exposed to vibrations that mimicked wind, they didn't do this. This was a groundbreaking finding because it suggested that plants have a sophisticated way of perceiving their surroundings, enabling them to focus their defense strategies only when it really matters. Next, think about attracting pollinators. Have you ever heard of the concave-leaved bat-pollinated vine? It's a tropical American vine called Mariclavia ivenia. Now, this vine has a really interesting trick. Its flowers have evolved to act like acoustic reflectors, making them easier for bats to find in the dark rainforest undergrowth. Bats use echolocation to navigate and find food, emitting high-frequency sounds and listening for the echoes. The concave leaves of the Marcgravia hunnea are shaped in a way that they reflect these echolocation calls, making the flowers more noticeable to the bats. It's almost like a floral echo that says, "Hey bats, come pollinate me." This adaptation helps ensure that these plants are pollinated, allowing them to reproduce. And let's not forget about sound-stimulated growth. Some studies suggest that exposing plants to specific sound frequencies can actually influence how they grow. For instance, there's a study that found that exposing maize seeds to sound waves around 1 kHz increased their germination rate. Another study showed that exposing tomato seeds to specific sound frequencies led to longer roots and increased plant growth. The cool thing about this is that it might offer a way to use sound to boost agricultural yields without any harmful chemicals or invasive procedures. Priming for defense. Remember that after a plant detects the vibrations of a potential threat like a caterpillar, it can enter a state of heightened defense readiness called priming. This means that even if the initial threat like the caterpillar moves away or dies, the plant stays in a state of alert. And if another threat shows up later, the plant's defense response is quicker and stronger than usual. It's like the plant is holding on to that memory of the potential danger, staying sharp and ready to protect itself. Finding water with sound. Roots can actually hear the sound of flowing water. How do they do this? Well, when water flows through soil or around plant roots, it creates vibrations that roots can sense. This ability, called hydrotropism, enables roots to grow towards water sources. Even without direct contact or moisture gradients, roots can navigate through the soil based on the soundscape, ensuring they reach water effectively. Root-to-root communication. Now, this is a relatively new idea, but there's some evidence that plants might communicate with each other through the vibrations produced by their roots. This could be a way for plants to warn neighboring plants about potential dangers such as drought or diseases. By sending and receiving subtle acoustic signals through the soil, one plant could potentially alert its neighbors, allowing them to prepare and respond collectively. Stomatal regulation. Remember those tiny pores on leaves called stomata? Well, it turns out that sound vibrations can influence when these stomata open and close. This is important because stomata play a key role in gas exchange, taking in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis and releasing oxygen. Plus, they help regulate water loss through a process called transpiration. Being able to adjust these functions in response to sound could be a smart adaptation, especially since many environmental cues that affect stomata, like wind, also produce sound. So how exactly do plants identify specific sounds? When you think about it, the ability of a plant to respond to specific sounds or vibrations is truly remarkable. They don't just react to any noise. For example, in the case of the thale cress plant responding to the chewing caterpillar, the plant doesn't go into defense mode when exposed to vibrations that mimic wind. This demonstrates a sophisticated level of perception and response. The plant is essentially saying, if it's just the wind, no need to waste energy defending. But hey, if it's a caterpillar, let's get those defenses up. This implies a complex internal process where the plant is analyzing and comparing the incoming vibrations to stored memories or expectations of particular sounds. It's like the plant has a little library of sound profiles, and when a matching vibration comes in, it triggers a response. But why does this matter? Understanding how plants sense and respond to their environment can help us in a number of ways. For example, knowing that sound can influence plant growth could revolutionize agriculture. Imagine using carefully designed soundscapes to help crops grow faster or resist diseases more effectively. Plus, understanding how plants communicate through vibrations could lead to new ways of monitoring plant health or coordinating responses to environmental changes. And don't forget the ecological implications. Recognizing that plants can attract specific pollinators using sounds could help us protect endangered species or restore ecosystems. As scientists continue to uncover the secrets of plant bioacoustics, we'll likely find even more ways that these silent signals are shaping the world around us. What's next? Well, one immediate step is to pinpoint the specific genes and proteins involved in plant hearing. By identifying these components, we can better understand the molecular mechanisms that allow plants to convert vibrations into actionable responses. Think of it like figuring out the parts of a machine. Once we know the individual pieces and how they fit together, we can understand the bigger picture, how the plant senses and responds to its environment. But what does all of this mean for the future? Well, as we learn more about plant bioacoustics, we open the door to exciting possibilities. Imagine using sound to boost crop yields, to protect endangered plants, or even to clean up contaminated soil. The applications are vast. By understanding the language of plants, we can work with nature to create a better future. Okay, I think we got most of them. Oh, wait. I remember. There's one more. In case you haven't noticed, this whole episode was us reacting to sounds and vibrations as well. We reacted to the music, the sound effects, and the sounds of our own voices. And our reactions might have been a little different depending on the context. That's called affective computing. Affective computing is a subfield of artificial intelligence that focuses on teaching machines to understand and respond to human emotions. It's like giving robots a heart and a brain at the same time. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more.